Welcome to my first good look at the Kia E-niro. It's been out a while and I've seen it at a few car shows, and the owners seem to love them, but I haven't had a chance to drive it until now. My friend John had one as a rental and let me take it for a spin. So here's a couple Tesla Model Y owners giving their impressions of the Kia E-niro electric crossover. We'll start with a little drive, then do some charging and take a look inside, then get more impressions on the drive back. Alright, so that beeping means we are about to reverse in the Kia E-niro. Let's see how this drives. And it does have the, what in Tesla world would be called... Yeah, I see it. Oh, that's not there. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the drive lever is a dial on the dash, or on the center console. And hit the wipers again.
I think it's a Tesla. Is that a Tesla?
Yeah. One thing I noticed just pulling into this parking lot is that it feels pretty nimble. You can turn auto hold on with a button down here. There's quite a few buttons. I think once you get used to it, it would be really slick, but first impression is it's a lot. Auto hold works. Was able to take my foot off the brake. I turned on the blinker and got a warning sound. I don't know if that's because somebody was in my blind spot. But
oh yeah, that's why. Yeah.
We are in sport mode, I believe. Still.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably 5 seconds, but I didn't have it nailed down.
No.
But it was plenty fast to get up on the highway. Since we've got a little space, let's try this.
Awesome.
It's got a little bit of pop to it. At speed, not a ton, but plenty for highway driving. And there's definitely enough pop to get you on the highway, merging, all that kind of stuff. No problems there. It does feel a little more top heavy than the Model Y. I don't know if that's because it's more narrow. Like no concern about it rolling or anything, but not quite as planted. But it's smooth and very quiet in here. Once you get used to the dash setup and everything, you feel pretty at home. This does seem to have the bigger screen here. It's fairly responsive, but the navigation's a little bit clunky. Throw on the lane centering here. Smart cruise control, conditions not met. Okay. Getting the lane centering, adaptive cruise is a lot of button presses, but it does seem to work all right. I have my hand slightly touching the wheel to make sure, but we did just take a pretty good corner there. So it's pretty good. I can feel it making some adjustments under my hands, doing a little bit of weaving, but with a hand on the wheel, this is a nice assistant. Yeah, just the speed is just a toggle up and down. I would say the ride is pretty close to the Model Y as far as how much of the bumps you feel, that kind of thing. The adaptive cruise seems a little conservative. I would like to be able to get a little close, and maybe there's a setting for that. But right now it's giving me about 10 car lengths. Okay, yeah, I got 2 little bars now, and it had 4 before. So yeah, the steering wheel button changes that. And that did pick up the speed and got us closer, so that's a little better. It is staying within the lanes and not ping-ponging badly, but not as rock solid as I would like to have my hands on. But I don't think they're advertising it that way. It definitely feels more narrow than the Y, but comfortable. The seat's a tad hard, don't you think?
Yeah. It's got good leg room.
Yeah, nice leg room.
For 6 foot, I'm 6 foot, and my legs are got plenty of room to spread my legs up.
Yeah. So we're just going on a 20-minute or so drive over to the Electrify America station, and already I'm starting to feel like the seats are a little stiff. Not bad. The back isn't bad, but I can just feel like if I were in here for hours, like on our last road trip, I feel like my butt would be pretty sore, every time we got out of the car. But it is very quiet.
I think it's quieter than the Y.
Yeah, it's probably quieter than the Model Y. Might be quieter than the Mach-E too. I would say maybe the volume level equivalent to the Polestar. Okay, somebody just pulled out kind of in front of us, and the adaptive cruise did a really nice job of slowing down, not panic slowing, but just giving him space and continued. That was pretty good. Well, you've been driving it for a week now?
Yeah.
A little over a week?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
No, for being that it's a $35,000 car, it's comfortable. It's a little smaller than the Model Y. It don't have the headroom. I'm 6 foot. Got like a 200-mile range on it. The only thing I don't like about it is the charge port's in the front of the car. So you got to back into the garage if you wanted to plug in your charger, because most people don't have the chargers in the front. It's comfortable. When you hit bumps and stuff, you don't feel very good. Suspension systems, it's pretty smooth on potholes and stuff. Yeah, on sport mode, it moves. The tires will spin if the car gets up and moves on sport mode.
In the parking lot, it felt pretty nimble, just kind of whipping around. Have you noticed that, like compared to the Y or? Yeah, it seems to.
It turns
like,
tighter, actually.
Turn tighter and feel like a smaller car than it is.
Yes, it does. I can make a U-turn with this in my street. I can make a U-turn without backing up. On the Model Y, I got to back up. Model Y it's got a wider turning radius. One thing I do not like is when you put it on auto, it engages the air conditioner and the heater at the same time. So you have to disengage the air conditioner. And the reason behind that is to keep the windows from fogging up, but that's not necessary all the time. You have the air conditioner engaged, pull out the humidity in the car.
Well, I think in the Prius, the air conditioner, like they use that term both ways, that it's either conditioning warm or conditioning cool, and then just turns on the heater or the cooling. But that is strange.
Well, the way somebody wanted to get into an electric vehicle, I picked this over a Nissan Leaf, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely over a Leaf. It's just a good car, But if you were coming from a modern internal combustion engine car that has some sort of screen, some buttons, you would get in this and not feel any different, other than it's going to be a little zippier and faster.
You think it would have a V8 in it?
Yeah.
It's pretty fast.
So definitely for the price and for the efficiency, the real world mileage people are getting out of this, on the face of it, I can't come up with a real good reason why you wouldn't want to go with this. Road trips in Minnesota where there's not a lot of CCS fast charging, but I don't think this charges super fast. I'll look up the stats on the max charging speed.
It also got a neat feature that if you're plugged in at a charger, you can turn on this feature where it locks the charge port, or the charge port can't be unplugged. So if somebody can't unplug you, you can have it set up either or, have it so it can be unplugged, or it locks. When you lock the vehicle, the charge port's locked and it will not unplug. So I think that's a neat feature.
Yeah, that's pretty slick.
The only cameras it's got on it is a backup camera. No internet either. There's no software updates on here through the internet.
Hello and welcome to Woodbury, Minnesota, and the Electrify America station here. The only one in the state so far. Hoping that changes soon. We are going to just top off a charge today. It's already at 86% because it's so efficient. We didn't burn a lot getting over here. But plug it in just to show the charging. This doesn't charge super fast. I think the max charging for the Niro is about 72 kilowatts. So of all the great things about it for road tripping and fast charging, this is not great from a charging perspective. If you can plug in while you're doing other things and have that time, then it's a super efficient vehicle. This is John. He has this vehicle from Roseville Enterprise. Well, his Model Y is having some work done to it, and so he's had this about a week.
Yeah.
You think it's pretty good overall, don't you?
Yeah, it drives. It's quiet. It drives fine. It's got good pickup and go. For a tall guy, it's okay. I mean, it's.
You have a little hard time getting your head into
the car, but it only charges at home on the 10 kilowatt charger. I got a charge point charger that charges at 240 volts at 10 kilowatts. It only takes 7.5 in on the level 2 charging, so apparently it can't take the 10 kilowatts, so it charges slower at home too. So.
But with overnight charging, that's not really going to be an issue.
It is front wheel drive.
You've managed to chirp the tires.
Yeah, you can chirp the tires easy because it's got 3 modes. It's got equal, normal, and sport mode. And sport mode is it's a decent pickup. What you say?
Yeah. It's not the fastest out there, but definitely enough to get you on and off the highway, around traffic, and it's pretty nimble in parking lots and good turning radius. Pretty pleasant, very quiet driving experience.
Can't tow with it. This hybrid one is the one you can tow with. This one here is they don't recommend a towing package on it.
Yeah, and we'll take a look inside a little bit and show you some of the leg room and things like that. The back storage space with the seats folded down and everything. Pretty good first impression so far. Let's get it plugged in and just see how that goes, and then we'll take it from there. So we'll get a close-up here of just pop that. So a little slicker than my Mach-E video where I didn't know what I was doing. And we got caps for both of these. Obviously the charge port is right up on front, but we'll get the Electrify America hooked up and start charging. And plug in first. Hit it just the right angle.
My God.
Connecting to vehicle. Maybe. Pay by credit card or mobile wallet. I'll do that here. We initialize charging. That just took about 20 or 30 seconds. I'm hearing the clicks in here. We're plugged in. The station's starting to warm up. And we'll take a look inside the car. We seeing anything?
24 kilowatts.
We're charging at 25 kilowatts, which is just fine because we're at 86%. But it's something. An hour and 28 minutes to get to 100%. Again, it's just going to trickle in as we're so high. But we'll get a little bit here and just move along our way. This might be fairly dark in here, but there's actually a surprising amount of leg room seat back where I like to have it. So not bad from a comfort standpoint or a headroom standpoint here in the back seat. It is a little tight underneath the front seat. If I wanted to put my feet up under there, they're kind of pinched off. So you can't extend too much, but it's not bad. No USB charging in the back seats. A pocket behind the passenger seat, but not behind the driver. And a little transmission hump, but it's not too bad. Not too invasive. So for backseat trips, this wouldn't be too bad. Let's take a look at the storage in the back. Okay, the trunk space isn't massive. We can see with a small camera bag, there isn't a ton of space back here, but it's not too bad. There is some under trunk space, enough for the charging cable, and the charging cable that comes with it, at least the one from Enterprise, is only 110. So slow charging if you're using this at home with this connector. But it sits nicely, and I like to think of that as the gas can on road trips, your kind of worst case scenario charging. And so good to have that just in the trunk. I like the shoulder belt for the center seat as well. And then pretty easy to fold the seats down, either from the back seat and they lay relatively flat. Probably not a long enough space to sleep in comfortably for someone 5'10" and above, unless you can curl up kitty corner or something. But for storing things, if you need to move big items, this would be pretty good. You also have these connectors for the seats that are sticking out. They're within the space of the humps here, but still could catch on something if you're moving your house and have a picture or something you want to lean against there. Something that could get damaged. Nice little tie downs here on the corners. There's these little tie downs that could be useful, but I don't see any charging or any outlets, any 12-volt outlets or anything in here. But it's just a trunk space. That's all it needs to be. The hatch is not powered, but it's not bad. Okay, you do have the backup camera right there and windshield wiper.
And we'll jump in here with B-roll to show some measurements, and although the Model Y is a wider car, the hatch openings are about the same width, with the Niro being a bit wider.
So here you can kind of get a sense of the trunk openings. Because the Model Y goes further forward, that opening is considerably bigger.
44.
So about 41 at the base, and then up about halfway, it's about 40 at the smallest point of the opening. Down here we've got 40 inches. And then it widens out to 43 and a half. So with the tape measure against the back seat, with the door closed, you get about 60 to 61. You could move that seat up a little further if you don't have another passenger, but about 5 feet. So against the back seat here in the Model Y, and yeah, we got 74 usable. So a little over a foot more depth. We can take a look under the frunk here and see what we got. Typical hood release. And do you have to prop this up? Oh, yeah. Because this really isn't a storage space at all, there's not really any reason to get in here. And so you do have this manual post to hold the hood up. But since there's nothing to get to under here, not really something you're ever going to need to do. Clips in there. Standard hood closure. Just drop it. We're now at 91%. Again, didn't really need to do this. And cost $1.72. For 14 minutes, we're down to 10 kilowatts. Unless you were desperate to get 100%, you wouldn't stay charging at this point. But we definitely don't need to with home charging available, so we are going to disconnect and end our session here. Press the button, pull out, and then replace these. You want to replace the bottom one first, and then the top one. These are a little annoying. I don't know how necessary they are. Probably more necessary on a vehicle that has the charging in the front that's taking the brunt of the rain and road grit and all that. So I'm not a huge fan of those, but if they need to be there, maybe they need to be there. So the interesting thing is when you get back in, if you had auto hold on or some of those other things, you need to turn that back on. You need to kind of reset your settings. You got to confirm that you're going to be safe every time, which is a little annoying if you owned the vehicle. Maybe if you have an account right now, it's a guest account. Maybe if you have this paired with your own phone and everything, you wouldn't need to do that, but minor annoyance, but otherwise...
I do have it paired with my phone and it still does it.
Oh, does it? Yeah. And when you leave, you do get the check rear seats for kids and things, which is a good reminder. Sad that we need that kind of thing, but it's there. But let's head back to John's place. You do have to put it in park to put in a new navigation thing. At least type it in. Yeah, so if you needed a software update, it would have to be done at the dealership. You can feather the brake pedal in about a quarter or half of the way. And then once you pass that threshold, it just locks you stop. You got to be a little careful how hard you're braking and how quickly. Like any car, you get used to how it brakes, but there does seem to be a threshold of feather, 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 stop. And learning where that is takes a little bit of practice. I don't have to put auto hold on again. I did when I got into the car, then had to put it back in park. Now that I'm back in drive, I had to put auto hold on again. So it'd be nice if some of that stuff stayed on. Auto hold doesn't engage unless you come to a full stop with the brake. Just there, I came to almost a complete stop. It felt stopped, but I guess it wasn't enough for auto hold to take over. The left-hand paddle, you change the level from, right now we're up at 3. If you want to drop it back to 0, you press the right paddle, or drop it down, step by step. I was wondering why we were having so much variety, but again, that reset when the car was off, and I need to turn regen back on. Our gauge is now saying 198 miles. We were at about 90%. We can see, just judging by mile markers, how efficient that's going to be, or how true to life that is. We just passed a mile marker and went down to 197. So we should be able to make it to the next mile marker, still at 197. So here's the next mile marker, and we actually went back up to 198 miles and are now back to 197 in the course of that 1 mile. So we must be right near that edge. So we've gone past a couple more mile markers, and we're still at 196 miles estimated. So very efficient. We're in really good driving conditions too. I don't think there's a lot of wind out today, and it's probably close to 50 degrees here. Pretty good EV driving weather. Okay, the cruise sequence, there's a lot to it. Hit cruise, set cruise, and then once that's okay, then you can do adaptive, set the distance you want for adaptive cruise, and turn on lane centering. So a lot of steps to get this on, but because if you only want part of it, you don't have to do all of it. But the more you want, the more buttons you have to press. Yeah, I don't know if you'll get a warning, but I don't know how.
Not doing too bad.
Yeah, we're coming up to a curve. I think you can do it. Okay, it's saying keep hands on the steering wheel, so
Both hands.
it did have a little pop-up, which is good, because although this does pretty well, sharper turns, a lot of traffic, you're going to want to have a hand on. For how much is on the touchscreen, a lot of that stuff is duplicated down here on a row of buttons. I'll show you that when we're stopped. The price I saw for this right now is $39,000, but Kia still has the $7,500 tax credit. So, assuming that's still in effect, that would bring it down to $3,250. So right now that is a tax rebate, and so you have to owe more than that in taxes, or that in taxes, and then you'd be able to get that back on the following tax return. So when you file for the year you buy it, you would pay at that tax time, or get paid back at that tax time. So out the door, you're still out the full cost of the vehicle.
So those were my thoughts through my brief experience with the Niro. A really solid EV choice at a good price. A 77 kilowatt-hour max charging rate is the only real downside I can see. But if you prefer to fly instead of road trip cross-country, this is a great and efficient EV for everyday use and really most regional trips. And if you have a little extra time, road trips will work too. They just won't be as quick as you can travel in other vehicles. I hope to interview a long-term owner and get their experience soon. So subscribe so you won't miss it. Thanks to John for sharing his rental with me for the video and giving his insights as well. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.